so we're going to use that knowledge now to put things in a box and whisker plot. Basically, it's just the same thing you did yesterday, except we also need to know how to do this without a calculator. So I'm going to show you how to do it without a calculator once or twice, and then we will move on with our life. So you need that little chart that I made for you yesterday that explained what a box and whisker was. There's a minimum, a maximum, and then it had a box that was quartile 1, quartile 3, and a median. Okay, that was what a box and whisker plot was. So when we are creating all this stuff, we're going to find out what it is. Now, the one big thing that we're adding to this is how to find outliers, determining outliers. So we need a formula for that, and it is on the next page, 346. Okay, the formula, you need to know what IQR means, so write down IQR. It's inner quartile range, interquartile, sorry. I'm going to have to erase that if you were copying what I was spelling. Interquartile range. Okay, so IQR is interquartile range. We are looking for the difference between the first and third quartile. So to explain interquartile, it's the difference between this and this. Okay, so IQR explained in a mathematical concept would be quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Okay, it is just the median's pieces, the bigger one minus the smaller one. Okay, that's all that is. So if we're going to find an outlier is any number that is either 1.5 times bigger than the interquartile range or 1.5 times smaller than the interquartile range. So what we do is we find our IQR, which is this formula here, and then we take it and we multiply it by 1.5. Okay? We multiply it by 1.5. That gives us the total availability between our quartile 3 and our maximum number that's allowed, and our quartile 1 and our minimum number that's allowed. So what we do is we take quartile 1 and we will subtract this number, whatever it is. Okay, we're going to subtract whatever this number is. For the sake of actually writing this, I'm going to just copy it down every single time. So quartile 1, we're going to subtract 1.5 multiplied by IQR in a quartile range. And if it is a number less than that, then it is an outlier. So I'll just use that variable, and I'll explain this a little better when we do an example. So don't get confused yet. And then we'll take the quartile 3, we'll add whatever that number is to it. And if it's anything bigger than that, again, that's an outlier. So we're going to use IQR pretty extensively in this lesson. Okay, from example 1, we're going to do this the long way the first time, and then I'm going to remind you how to do it in your calculator. So example 1 shows us a box and whisker plot. It gives us our set of data, so make sure you're looking at example 1. We're going to identify a few things just as a reminder. I need to know my minimum, I need to know my quartile 1, my median, my quartile 3, and my max. Okay, so look at that. I'm going to go down the line, starting with Levi. He's going to tell me what minimum is, and then we're going to go straight back, then to Maddie, straight back, then to, I guess Sadie's the first one in that row, and straight back. Okay, so what's the minimum, Levi? Are you on example 1? He says 55. Does anybody disagree? Nope, me neither. Good. Quartile 1, Greeland? He says 70, but does anybody disagree? Good. The median? Maddie?
Okay. 85.
85. Anybody disagree? Good. Quartile 3. Leon? 90. Good. And the maximum, Sadie? 100. No disagreements on any of that stuff, right? Okay. That was just a quick review of what all that stuff is. We need some of it, but not all of it. To find the IQR, we just take quartile 3, which was 90. We need to subtract quartile 1, which was 70. So I'm going to put that as a little quick note to remind us right there. Okay. So 90 minus 70 is?
30.
Try again.
20.
20. Good. It is 20. I'm going to take my IQR and multiply it by 1.5. So I have 20 times 1.5, which is, now you can say it, Sadie. Or not. 30. 20 times 1.5 is 30. Okay, so this is the number that we needed to add and subtract quartile 1 and quartile 3 to find out where our minimums and maximums are. Okay, so I found my interquartile range using these two numbers, and I multiplied it by 1.5 to get the total range that I'm going to add to quartile 3. Okay, quartile 3 is right here, so it's everything that might be outside or an outlier will be far to the right. So I'm going to add because I'm going to the right. So add 30. So what was quartile 3? Try again. 90. Good. So 90 plus 130 gives me 120. Okay. And now I'm looking at back at my looking back at my chart here. Okay. Is there any numbers graphed on this that are bigger than 120? No. So no upper outliers. Now we're going to look for lower outliers. I'm going to call this an upper outlier range. Anything bigger than this is an outlier, upper outlier. Okay, so I'm going to take my quartile 1, which is 70, and I'm going to subtract that number we got for our range, which is 30, and I'm going to get 40. So this is our lower outlier identifier. Okay, so again, I look at this and I say, is there anything here smaller than 40? Graphed on that? No. Anything? No. Okay, so since there is nothing, there are no outliers. Had there been a 37 graphed on that line, 37 would have been an outlier. Had there been graphed a 130 on that line, 130 would have been an outlier. Okay, so instead of just looking at it and going, wow, that number's really big, or wow, that number's really small, we actually have to do the math now. Okay, so we have a definite way to tell what the outliers are. Now, this is where your calculator comes in extremely handy. Okay, on example 2, these numbers are extraordinarily large. Okay, and some of them might be an outlier, but we don't know all of them to be an outlier. So I could write them all down in order and want to look at them, but I'm going to use my calculator to its fullest benefit. So grab your calculator. Go to stat like we did yesterday. Edit your list. If you already have something in your list, as a reminder, to clear a list, you just go to clear list, tell it what list to clear, which was list 1 for me, press enter, and it's done. Okay, so when I go back into stat, edit, my list is empty. And I'm going to start entering in all of these numbers. I'll say them aloud if you want to put them in as I say them. 312, 210, 422, 323, 358, 511, 689, 722, 333, 301, 298, 755, 213, 245, and 356. And as a reminder, I look at the last one, it says 15, so I'm going to go through here and make sure there are 15 numbers. There are 15 numbers. So I did good. Okay. In order to sort this list, I hit stat again. I tell it to sort. Tell it what list to sort, which was list 1. Press enter. It's done. I go back to my list, and I can look at it. It's in order I didn't hardly have to think. So it's nice because I can see they're in order. Because I know there's 15, I can find the median at 8. Okay? I can find the median at 8. So median here is 333. I'm going to start building my box and whisker plot off of this information. Our median is 333. Here we go. Now because of that, I know that these top 7 numbers are going to be my lower half, and I need to find the middle of that. Top 7 numbers. And I know that that's going to be at 4. Because that's the middle of the middle. It's 298. Now I need to find the upper half. So I'm going to go back to 8. I'm going to count 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts me at 12. 511. Go all the way down to the bottom of my data and put my maximum, 755. And then go all the way back to the top. And it'll give me my minimum, which is 210. Okay, your calculator gives you all of this information. And if you don't remember how to do it, you can always go second stat plot. Turn your stat plot on. Go to the type of graph that you want, which is a box and whisker, which is the middle bottom on at least mine. We're going to remove it from list 2 for me. Okay, and then I go to graph. Of course, my graph isn't going to look right. I need to go to zoom stat, which is down at 9. And blam, there is my box and whisker plot. Again, if I want to just pull the numbers from it, I press trace. Tab over to start. My minimum is 210. My first quartile is 298. My median is 333. It's saying that at the bottom of my calculator, but I can't get both shots on the screen. My next quartile is 511, and my maximum was 755. So what I have written down agrees with my stat plot. Okay, be good at one or the other. I don't care which one you use, but you got to be good at one of them. Okay, after I got my box and whisker, I need to find my interquartile range. I need to find the difference between the first and third quartiles. So I take 511, I subtract 298 from it, and I don't know what I get. I get 213. Then I have to take that number and multiply it by 1.5, and I get my interquartile range times 1.5 is... Did anybody get that number? Because I keep messing it up. Okay, if we're not going to do this together, I'm not going to do the notes.